Hi everybody, I want to talk about Paul the Apostle misquoting Isaiah chapter 59 verse 20, where Paul the Apostle says it like this. He says, "And the deliverer will come out of Zion to turn away ungodliness from Jacob," versus the Dead Sea Scrolls, which have this in the Hebrew, that the deliverer will come to Zion, to those who turn from transgression in Jacob, okay? So, what's going on here? The Dead Sea Scrolls are the oldest manuscripts that we have of the Hebrew scriptures, okay? We don't have anything older than that. So if you want to go by the oldest stuff, what's going on? You know what I mean? And so you can make up your own mind about that, but you got to remember that if you want to appeal to something like a Greek translation of the Hebrew, like the Septuagint, I would say, why would Paul be using the Septuagint when, Paul himself says in Romans chapter 3, verse 2, that the Jews were entrusted with the oracles of God, that the Jews were entrusted with the words of God, with the scriptures, not the Greeks, and the scriptures have, according to, if you compare it to the Dead Sea Scrolls, the masoretic text has been preserved extremely well if you compare it to the Dead Sea Scrolls. I'm not sure that's the case regarding the Septuagint, and so if Paul makes the case that in Romans chapter 3, verse 2, that to the Jews are entrusted the oracles of God and the words of God, why would Paul appeal to a translation to the Greek? I don't know. It just seems kind of funny. I can understand if, the common people who maybe were not proficient in Hebrew wanted to read it for themselves. Maybe they could get their hands on a Greek translation because they weren't really knowledgeable and they hadn't gone to like a yeshiva or something like that, in the old days. Or, but yeah. So it just seems kind of funny that Paul would appeal to the Greek, a Greek translation of the Hebrew, when he himself says that the Jews were entrusted with the oracles of God, Romans chapter 3, verse 2. And like I said, the Dead Sea Scrolls are just like the Masoretic text, which both translate it as, and the deliverer will come to Zion, to those who turn from transgression in Jacob. So that means a Messiah, or God himself, will come to Israel after they turn from their sins, not before, not to save them from their sins. So you can just look at some of this stuff in the description, because I have some references there. But check this stuff out for yourself. Do some research. I really do think the Apostle Paul is not using the scriptures properly, not using the Jewish scriptures properly, and he's misquoting this stuff. And I just think it's a bunch of lies. If you can look it up for yourself. But anyway, just think about this stuff.